Welcome to the adventures of the monad. The time has come to move up the scale and look at the next plane of existence, the next world of the planetary logos, in whose body we reside, and our next principal envelope. Before proceeding to a detailed study of the emotional body and the phenomena associated with it may be useful to lay out a brief outline of the subject matter we are going to cover. Briefly, the emotional body of a person is a vehicle to clairvoyant sight not unlike the physical body, surrounded by an aura of flashing colors, composed of matter of an order of fineness higher than that of physical matter, in which feelings, passions, desires, and emotions are expressed, and which acts as a bridge or medium of transmission between the physical brain and the mind, the latter operating in a still higher vehicle, the mental body. While every person possesses and uses an emotional body, comparatively few are conscious of its existence or can control and function in it in full consciousness. In the case of large numbers of people, it is scarcely more than an incoherent mass of emotional matter, the movements and activities of which are scarcely under the control of the person themselves, who we call the persona. With others, however, the emotional body is a well-developed and thoroughly organized vehicle, possessing a life of its own and conferring on its owner many useful powers. During the sleep of the physical body, at the younger stages of development 1, 2, and 3, a person leads a dreamy, vague existence in their relatively primitive emotional body, remembering little or nothing of their sleep life when they are reawakened in their physical body. This is not the case for the youngest monads of the planet, such as the Aborigines, who do have a very active dream life, but for completely different reasons, which we will not discuss here. In the case of the higher stages of development, life in the emotional body, whilst the physical body is wrapped in slumber, is active, interesting, and useful. The memory of this life may, under certain conditions, be brought down into the physical brain. The life of such a person ceases to be a series of days of consciousness and nights of oblivion, becoming instead a continuous life of unbroken consciousness, alternating between the physical and the emotional planes or worlds. One of the first things a person learns to do in their emotional body is to travel in it. It being possible for the emotional body to move with great rapidity over great distances from the sleeping physical body. An understanding of this phenomena throws a great deal of light on a large number of so-called occult phenomena, such as apparitions of many kinds, knowledge of places never visited physically, etc. The emotional body is the envelope that is the supreme vehicle of feelings and emotions. An understanding of its composition and how it operates is of considerable value in understanding many aspects of people's psychology, both individual and collective. It also provides a simple explanation of the mechanism of many phenomena revealed by modern psychoanalysis. A clear understanding of the structure and nature of the emotional body, of its possibilities, and its limitations is essential to a comprehension of the life into which people pass after physical death. The many kinds of heavens and hells and purgatorial existences believed in by followers of innumerable religions all fall naturally into place and become intelligible as soon as we understand the nature of the emotional body and the emotional world. A study of the emotional body helps us also to understand many of the phenomena of the seance room and of certain psychic or non-physical methods of healing diseases. We have looked at these in detail from the etheric perspective in the previous series. Those who are interested in what is termed the fourth dimension will find also a confirmation of many of the theories which have been formulated using geometry and mathematics in the study of the emotional world phenomena, as described by those who have observed them. A study of the emotional body of a person thus takes us to distant places and expands enormously a conception of life based solely on the physical world and purely physical senses. As we proceed, we shall see that the physical senses, invaluable as they are, by no means represent the limits of what a person's vehicle can teach them of the world in which they live. The awakening into functioning activity of the emotional faculties reveals a new world within the old world, and when a person becomes able to understand its significance, they will obtain an expanded view of their own life and all nature. It will reveal to them the almost limitless possibilities latent in humanity. Under the law of development, we all will sooner or later feel the impulse to develop and master the worlds around us. In this process, we will walk into our true destinies and become co-creators with the supreme will in evolution. Let us start by studying the composition and structure of the emotional body. Emotional matter exists in 7 grades or orders of fineness, corresponding to the 7 grades of physical matter, which are solid, liquid, gaseous, etheric, superetheric, subatomic, and atomic. No names of these emotional states, however, having so far been devised, it is usual to describe them either by the number of the grade or subplane, the finest being number 1, the coarsest being number 7, or by the corresponding physical grade from world 49. As we are Hylozoicians, let's just stick to the numbers and not go down the rabbit hole of speaking about emotional solid matter, etc. Emotional matter, being much finer than physical matter, interpenetrates it. Every physical atom therefore floats in a sea of emotional matter, which surrounds it and fills every intervening space in the physical matter. It is well known that even in the densest substance, no 2 atoms ever touch one another, the space between the 2 adjacent atoms being enormously larger than the atoms themselves. Physical science long ago has posited the existence of an ether, which interpenetrates all known substances, the densest solids as well as the most rarefied gas. As this ether moves with perfect freedom between the particles of dense matter, so does emotional matter interpenetrate it in turn and moves with perfect freedom among its particles. Thus, a being living in the emotional world might be occupying the same space as a being living in the physical world. Each would be entirely unconscious of the other and would in no way impede the free movement of the other. We should thoroughly familiarize ourselves with this concept, because without grasping it clearly, it is not possible to understand large numbers of emotional phenomena. The principle of interpenetration makes it clear that the different realms of nature are not separated in space, but exist about us here and now. To perceive and investigate them, no movement in space is necessary, only to generate an opening within the senses, which allows us to perceive this finer world. The emotional world or plane is thus a condition of nature rather than a locality. It must be noted that a physical atom cannot be directly broken up into emotional atoms. Why? Because it is made up of 49 emotional atoms forming a ring. So, if the physical atom 49-1 was pushed over the threshold into the emotional world, it would break up into 49 constituent parts, not transform into an emotional atom. The same would be the case for an emotional atom suddenly finding itself in the mental world. This is Hylozoics 101, but it is worth bearing in mind as we proceed. It should be noted that physical atoms are of 2 kinds, male and female. In the male, force pours in from the emotional world, passing through the atom and out into the physical world. In the female, forces pass in from the physical world, through the atom and out into the emotional world, thus vanishing from the physical world. Emotional matter corresponds with precise accuracy to the physical matter, which it interpenetrates, each variety of physical matter attracting emotional matter of corresponding density. Thus, solid physical matter, 49.7, is interpenetrated by solid emotional matter, 48.7. Liquid physical matter, 49.6, is interpenetrated by liquid emotional matter, 48.6, both matter from the sixth subplane to their respective worlds. In order to function properly, the physical body has to contain within its constitution physical matter in all its conditions, solid, liquid, gaseous, and etheric. The same conditionality applies to the emotional body. It has, at least in its initial configuration, particles drawn from all the 7 subplanes of the emotional world. The variable in these cases is the proportion of emotional matter found on each subplane. Ultimately, a monad will empty its emotional envelope, leaving only the 48.1 permanent atom. That is in the far distant future for us. So let us stick with the general model of an envelope seething with emotional essences, all vibrating at different rates, banding themselves into subplanes of existence. Remember, we are the ones that attract them. We are not at their mercy, as some would have you believe. We are their masters, and they obey our every whim and fancy. See you in the next presentation. Thank you.